What's up, y'all? My name is Devontae, and I sacrifice my time so you don't have to. Link is down in the description box below if you want to go up ahead. But can I just talk to you guys for a minute? Just a bit of a retro segment review, if you don't mind, real quick. There's a reason why I put out that community post about Shawn Michaels' first run versus his second run. Bro, I just seen this promo. Mind you, I've seen this plenty of times in the past, but I haven't seen it in a while. And it's such a culture shock because, with everything happening with PC culture and, the woke and all this other kind of shit, it's just such a culture shock to see people talk like this and then just come right back into real time and realize the world that we live in today because everybody's so fucking sensitive, right? Bro, and you guys have probably seen this promo plenty of times yourself. I'll leave the link down in the description box below if you guys want to see the promo also before actually hearing me talk about it, if you care that much. Or maybe you want to watch it directly after hearing me talk about it. Bruh, this had to have been after, maybe the night after Bad Blood or around that time, a week later. It had to have been around that time because they were building up to the Survivor Series 97, the Montreal Screwjob, right? And Bret Hart, well, first you had Shawn and Triple H. They're like going over there and they're harassing Vince McMahon. And then like the Hart Foundation come out and they're like, play Bret's music, play Bret's music. They're burying me out here. They're burying me. They're mocking Vince McMahon, right? And it's just crazy, bro. Because yes, nowadays, especially with companies like AEW, a guy like MJF can go out there and break the fourth wall and, cut a shoot promo. I mean, what's an MJF promo if he's not doing anything like that, right? If it's not a shoot or if he's not breaking the fourth wall, then is MJF even talking at the moment, right? But back in the days, you just didn't see it so fucking often, if not ever. Honestly, like you could probably count on one hand how many times you've seen people talk like that at the time on one hand, and to just see them outwardly express that was so insane to think about the times and how things were so protected, or at least as much as it could be protected at that time, considering kayfabe was going out the fucking window around that time, right? Or if it wasn't already out the window, 1 foot in the window, right? Or 1 foot in the door is the metaphor, right? Regardless, the Hart Foundation comes out. And bruh, fucking Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, bruh. Bret Hart goes, Shawn Michaels. And Shawn Michaels goes, yes, Bret Hart. Bro, Bret went, I shit you not. I know what the H and HBK stands for. You're nothing more than a homo erectus. Gotta say it for YouTube. And that guy in the green shirt, because Triple H is wearing green, he's also a homo erectus. And I'm like, oh my God, I forgot how loosey-goosey they were with the words back then. He was like, you may have barebacked your way into the main event, but I make more money than all three of you guys, referring to China, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels. Rick Rude was out there too, but he's on the outside. Also, Bret's not going to refer to Rick Rude because they're friends. I make more money than all three of you guys combined in the ring. And tonight I'm gonna take on you, Triple H. You're gonna take on the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. And Shawn is just like, yeah, but do you want him to take on you though? I mean, you said the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be, but I mean, I'm trying to figure out who you're talking about here. Certainly not you, right? And Bret's like, I'll deal with you later on. And then he leaves because afterwards he referred to Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and talked about how he ran them down south to WCW. And then Shawn Michaels gets on the microphone and he cuts, in my opinion, one of the greatest fucking promos I've ever fucking heard. He had two great goddamn comebacks. The first one, which by the way, this was the debut of the Suck It, Suck It, D-Generation X, right? Debut of that catchphrase. He also went out of his way. He said two things. He was like, you may have more money than me, but you do not make more money than me, Bret Hart. The only way for you to get in the main event is to be on my pay-per-view card. I'm like, oh my God. And then he cut this, bro. This is one of my favorite lines I ever heard someone say in a promo as far as a clapback. Because like I said, he said that Bret Hart said that he ran Scott Hall and Kevin Nash down south, right? He said, don't confuse destruction with expansion. And I'm just like, oh my God, bro. People talk about CM Punk and pipe bombs and shit like that, bro. We got this shit damn near every fucking week with Shawn and Bret. And it just made you realize, like, you guys talk about shoot promos and you're shooting from the hip and you're so totally cool and all this, and you ain't got shit on Shawn and Bret Hart, bro. I swear to God. But I just wanted to talk about this. Again, link is down in the description box below if you want to go watch the video for yourselves. One of the greatest promos of all time, and it's just so fucking glorious. And a little bit of historical context if you care about the Montreal Screwjob, as far as wanting to follow up, as far as how close were we getting before, things started to explode, right? Well, this was one of the events. But with that being said, let's get into the Dynamite review. Just want to talk about this. Alright, so while we're getting ready to set up for the #1 contender shot for the International Championship, I do got a couple things I want to say about the intro, which, by the way, the entire intro of tonight's AEW Dynamite. Why can't we do this every week? Why can't we just do this? That's a nice way to set up the pacing for the show. Not kicking it off with some stupid ass one-on-one match or some stupid ass 6-man tornado tag match or some fucking retarded ass hardcore tax up your booty hole match. None of that nonsense. You take one of your most over superstars, you put them in the center of the ring, and you set up the show for the rest of the night. Now, unfortunately, given that it's AEW, I don't think they're gonna go down the path of actually, fulfilling this linear story that could be actually told between Roosh and fucking MJF, but it's a nice change of pace. It's like the reverse of WWE, where they always kick off the show with the promos and never the wrestling, which I actually would rather prefer. That's just me speaking. I want you to set up the dialogue and set up the pace for the night. Unfortunately, whether it's WWE or AEW, they don't have any given storylines at the moment that I can sink my teeth into that would like to see a linear storyline play throughout the night. But again, it's the thought that counts. It's the fundamentals at the very least that I can set my eyes on, that I can appreciate, right? So you have this opener with MJF. He comes out, right? He starts to go down the list of opponents who've been talking shit about him throughout the past couple of weeks. I will say this. Some of the superstars have not been talking shit, but rather they've been placing their flag in the floor, and MJF feels offended by the fact that they're calling themselves the best versus, him thinking that he's the best, right? Which is an arguable point, depending on who you ask, right? But nevertheless, though, he's just running through everybody, talking shit about everybody, just kicking the hair, shooting the shit, if you will, right? Eventually, Roosh comes out. He starts talking shit to MJF. Apparently last week, I missed the entire segment, but apparently he challenged MJF. I don't know if he challenged him to a fight or if he just challenged him just on his name alone. Regardless though, he comes out, he confronts MJF. He tells him, hey, you're talking all this shit, cabron, which means, I think, bitch, right? Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that means bitch, something like that. Essentially, he was telling him, hey, if you keep talking shit, you keep saying that you're the best, you're gonna get the Hearns, whatever the fuck that means. But, hey, I'm here for it. MJF rebuts back with a couple of classless fucking jokes, but that's not the point. The point is, after they talked shit, Roosh ran in the ring, right? And they started to brawl. That's a nice way to set up a program. Now, I don't know if this is going to play up throughout the night, or they're going to blow this off on Dynamite, or they're going to do this at Forbidden Door. Please, God, don't blow this off at an episode of fucking Collision. I know they're not dumb enough to do this on fucking Rampage. Let this build up a little bit more. Okay, if you want to do it tonight, I'm okay with that also. As long as you can have a plausible story played throughout the night and you do it tonight. And hell, that's wishful thinking. That would have to mean that story would have to be told here. But I wouldn't even mind a disqualification finish. And, they have their match at fucking Forbidden Door. Or better yet, just play it out normally. Do a storyline throughout the night and just do the match at Forbidden Door without having to touch the match tonight. I'm just trying to speak from the perspective of your average Gen Z wrestling fan, where this is all they fucking know, which is just get it over with. We got to get our instant gratification right now, right? But nevertheless, though, it's a nice change of pace, and I do appreciate that. My only problem with this has nothing to do with what's happening currently at the moment. It's actually a fear. It's a fear for the future. It's a fear for actually thinking to myself, can Tony Khan actually do something with this feud? Because this is a nice way to introduce somebody. You want to make Roosh somebody? I'm okay with that. Personally, I've never been into the guy. Personally, I can count on one hand how many Roosh matches I can actually fucking say I watch, let alone acknowledge, right? But it's a nice way to introduce a new talent. And by new talent, I mean people who actually give a shit about the superstars. Not your hardcore niche, your die-hard fans. No. People who are unfamiliar with the talent because you hardly ever legitimately push them on a consistent basis, or you throw them to the edge of the fucking pool in the deep end on Collision or Rampage, expecting people to go down there to go save them from the deep end, but none of us can fucking swim. If you want to do this with Roosh, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with even him losing to MJF if you give any kind of semblance of reasoning for me to actually give a shit about the guy, right? This could be a similar situation. I'm not trying to compare it, but I'm comparing it in a sense of like, well, if you want to build up a superstar, I don't think you guys know this. Maybe you're unaware of this. Again, some of you guys may be too young to know this. Chris Jericho, between, I want to say, when he debuted in August of 1999, all the way up until April of 2000, was relatively still unknown for the most part. He was fiddling around, fucking around in the mid-card, fucking around with fucking China and shit like that. He was still relatively unknown. Yes, he was having good matches here and there, but he was not put into a position where he could be a star up until April in 2000, where he confronted Triple H. Before all that, he was fucking around with, you know, tidbits and pieces, Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle, but mostly he was fucking around with China. Yeah, I know, it sounds fucking crazy, but for a couple of months right there, no, Jericho was not doing anything. Then you put him in the ring with Triple H. Then you gave him a spotlight with Triple H. And even though it was in a losing effort, you put him squarely in the middle of the fucking main event scene. That's how you do it. And you can do the same thing with Rush. If you want to build up a superstar like that, I'm absolutely fine with that. But you have to follow through with it, man. You can do any superstar in that position as long as you follow through. This is not saying that Rush needs to win the fucking rivalry. This is not saying Rush needs to win a match against MJF. It's saying you need to be consistent with the character that you're doing. And not only just consistent with the character in terms of MJF, but when he inevitably loses to an MJF, you need to keep it up with booking Rush in a particular type of way that lets him keeps him relevant. I'll say that. Let's use the relevant word, because I was going to say maybe book him into a position where he could be a main event. No, you don't even have to go that far right about now. Introduce him to the regular audience and keep him relevant. We'll get to the main event situation, even the lower main event scene situation, in a couple of months after you're done pushing him, and we see if he actually, in my opinion, warrants that kind of positioning currently at the moment. But you have to push him. You have to push him, and this is a good start. And also, I like the Roderick Strong stuff with Swerve Strickland and the promotion of that. A video package, that's all I ask for. That's all any wrestling fan can legitimately ask for who actually gives a fuck about professional wrestling. Not just the moves, not just the athleticism, but the actual fucking entertainment aspect of professional wrestling. You keep us hooked on what the main event is going to be for tonight, and you consistently just keep replaying it in our minds. Swerve Strickland, for some ungodly reason, after 2 months of being your world champion, is having his first main event tonight. Okay, that's good. But it's going up against Roderick Strong, which I'm not even sure how Roderick Strong even got that spot. Maybe it was on the episode of Collision. I don't know. I don't care. I'm okay with this, as long as you keep the heat on the fire. That's always been AEW's downtrend. That's always been their weakness, is never keeping the heat on the fire, okay? Or keeping the heat on the pot, or whatever stupid ass metaphor you want to use. I'm pretty sure I fucked that up, but you get what I'm saying, right? Keep the heat on, essentially, right? Keep it at 10 and don't let it go down. Throw some logs on that bitch if you have to. I know I just confused gasoline stoves with fucking logs and campfires. Fucking bear with me here for a minute. I'm saying, be consistent with the booking, follow through with the booking, and whoever you book in whatever position will always, if not for anything else, they will stay within the mind of the professional wrestling fan, and for nothing else, they'll be a favorite if you push them in a consistent manner. They don't have to be the main event, they don't have to be the champion. Now, granted, if they actually have the skills that merits that position, then that's all fine and dandy, but you have to be consistent with the booking. That's all I ask. Nice way to open up the show. Now, I know I'm going to probably come to regret giving them props, because whenever I do, bad shit happens. Reluctantly, I will give them props for the opener. With that being said, let's continue on to this match. All right, keeping up the streak. Okay, AEW, I see you. Another solid segment. Now, you can have your opinion in regards to the characters that are involved. I completely understand. I'm not really that big of a fan of... No, I'm not going to say that. I don't really have a problem necessarily with the people in the match. I like Willow Nightingale. I don't mind Chris Statlander. Orange Cassidy, he's inoffensive to me. Don't like Trent Beretta. But nevertheless, though, the spots that they're currently in at the moment with the little story that they're telling, it's clear, and I think I called this a couple of weeks ago, that they were going to go in the mixed tag direction. I don't know if that's going to play out on Forbidden Door or Orenda, or, I mean, honestly, it could play out on any show. It could be Rampage, it could be Dynamite, it could be Collision, or it could be Forbidden Door. I mean, these guys, they are lower card talents when it's all said and done. well, maybe mid-card talents, I'd probably say that. At least Orange Cassidy is, right? And then you have Willow Nightingale, who's, TBS championship oriented, right? But my point being is, though, obviously the positions that they're currently playing at the moment, I don't mind it. I don't mind the simple story being told at the moment with, Orange Cassidy and Willow Nightingale being betrayed by their best friends, with Chris Statlander and Trent Beretta. I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? They're not going for any championship belts. The story in itself, it gets you being sympathetic behind the Orange Cassidy and the Willow Nightingale, because they have been betrayed multiple times. Seeing Chris Statlander slapping Orange Cassidy in the face like that, unprovoked. Again, it's the simple things. That's what I want to see more of. Give me a reason to want to give a shit about these people, right? And with the Fatal 4-Way match, I didn't give a shit about it. But at the same time, though, you have the winner being Rey Fenix. It's just a simple television match that's going to happen next week for the International Championship between him and Will Ospreay. I'm pretty sure they're going to kick flip and do a couple of shuffle slides, and then they're going to stand back up, and they're going to give you an electric slide, right? Then they're going to jump out of the ring, and then they're going to put their hands up in the air in the shape of a Y, then an M, then a C, then an A. I get what they're going to do. I understand it's going to be the most kickiest. It's going to be the kickiest of the flippiest. I completely understand. Do I care? Depends how they get me hyped up for it. That's how I like to engage with my matches. I don't go into any match anymore like I was when I was a kid and just saying to myself, holy golly gee willikers, I can't wait to see these cruiserweights go out there and just fucking kill it with their 5-star action. I'm older now. I need something more compelling than just watching the matches in themselves. Not to mention it's 2024. We fucking seen it all already. So the match in itself, although interesting because of the two talents involved, do more to get me engaged in the match as a reasoning for me to want to watch the match, right? But nevertheless, nothing inoffensive from what I've been seeing so far. We had Chris Jericho and the Learning Tree. They arrived at the arena. They were poking fun at the cameraman, telling him, hey, you should hold the camera like this. I did like the line from Chris Jericho when he was saying, I've been driving for 35 years. Always come to a full stop, okay, driver? And then he's like, hey, I've been I've been in front of the camera for over 30 years. And I can tell you, when you hold the camera steady, you have to hold it like this, Larry or Leroy, whatever the fuck he called him. And apparently they're going to come out to the arena in a little bit, playing up off the gimmick of the Learning Tree. Again, so far, so good. Cross your fingers. Get back to hitting on Roderick Strong. Get back to hitting on Swerve Strickland. And hang on for a second. I see Willow Nightingale. I want to see what she says. Alright, solid promo for Willow Nightingale. As I said, I will continue to say the best woman in all of professional wrestling when it comes to cutting promos. I don't think anyone comes anywhere close to Willow Nightingale when it comes to cutting promos. Very solid shit. I very much appreciate everything that I've seen so far. Like I said, it's just the little things. That's all I want. She talked about how Chris Statlander stabbed her in the back, how she says that her smile is what's going to be the driving force behind her, and now that she's been stabbed in the back, she doesn't understand that how dangerous she could be at the moment. Orange Cassidy came by with his goofy ass antics. He gave her a knuckle touch or a halfway knuckle touch. Looked kind of suspect, but that's okay. That's okay. Nevertheless, though, good shit. Christopher Danielson is talking. We'll get back on the next segment. I forgot all about the stupid fucking tournament. I have no desire to want to see this. First of all, there's just way too many fucking championship belts for me to want to give a fuck about any single fucking championship belt. And to be quite frank, I don't even mind the concept of having two mid-card championship belts, even if it is on one single show. Obviously, you have Raw and SmackDown with the Intercontinental Championship, the United States Championship. I don't mind a single branded show having a upper mid-card championship like the TNT title and a lower mid-card championship like the International Championship, or vice versa, or however you like to look at it. I don't know. I mean, it's not like back in the days in the Attitude Era, we didn't have the Intercontinental Championship and the European Championship, right? But obviously, you're throwing the mix the stupid-ass Continental Championship that has literally no meaning, no merit whatsoever. It was brought upon randomly by, you guessed it, another stupid fucking tournament. This one being a little bit different, G1 Climax related. Nevertheless, though, you had this match with Mark Briscoe taking on Brian Cage, and I'm not even going to lie to you, and I love Mark Briscoe. Nothing against Mark Briscoe per se. I just had no desire to want to watch this. For one, like I said, too many championship belts for me to give a shit. Another thing, it's a tournament. I really don't give a shit. We've been seeing tournaments all throughout the fucking, year so far? Not to mention it's going for a ladder match, a qualifying match for a ladder match. Like you don't have the women already doing that in NXT. And then also, it's Mark Briscoe, who's the ROH champion. Like, it's just way too many fucking belts. Why is Mark Briscoe fighting for a mid-card championship when he's the world champion of your other company? Nice way to bury your company inadvertently, right? And then you have Brian Cage inside here, well, automatically that's just gonna fucking suck because Brian Cage fucking sucks. And hell, that's not even me saying it. Look at how the guy's being booked. Look at how the guy cares about his own booking in the fucking past. I remember I heard someone, this is not a knock on them, again, I'm not knocking you, but someone brought up something earlier this week when they were like, man, it would be pretty cool to see something on the lines of Brian Cage versus Brock Lesnar, and I couldn't help but just laugh at the fucking idea. Why? Because look at your TV. That's how Brian Cage is being booked. My comparison to that was what, Rhino versus Goldberg. That was a concept. That was a dream match back in, say, 1999 when Rhino was killing it on ECW and Goldberg still had life left in WCW, right? Until you got to WWE and then you seen the booking of Rhino going throughout the early 2000s and you just thought to yourself, what a fucking joke. Although on paper, maybe in the past it would have been cool, what a fucking joke after seeing the booking of the characters going forward. And Brian Cage is no different. He's a loser. He's a born loser and he'll always be a loser. He loses the girls. He comes to AEW being all jacked and shit and he loses the guys half his fucking size as far as body mass is considered. He's a joke. Stop bringing him up. Not saying you in particular, sir. I'm just saying he's a joke. And honestly, just this whole match, I just didn't give a shit about. I didn't. I don't give a shit about the fucking championship that's going to be contended. I don't give a shit about the concept of a tournament. I don't give a shit about Brian Cage. And quite frankly, I like Mark Briscoe. Don't really give a shit about him being in a match like this when he's already an ROH World Champion. And speaking of which, I see Chris Jericho. Let's see what he's talking about. Oh God, the fucking Acclaim. Talk about a drag right now. I will say though, that skit right there, I'm sorry, I'm fucking digging the whole learning tree shit. That was fucking funny with Jericho giving parenting advice and then the fucking bounty hunter, whatever his name is, coming to fucking Coolin Ang, whatever his name is, and talking about, you know, hey, make sure your baby respects Chris Jericho. That was actually kind of hilarious. I didn't really mind at all too much. But nevertheless, though, we did have a promo segment before this also with fucking Hook and Samoa Joe being confronted by Tony fucking Nese. I forgot he even worked for the company. Oh, wait, god damn it, hang on. All right, real quick before we get to the next segment, because shit just keeps happening so fucking fast. We did have a bit of a promo segment with, by the way, actually, I should talk about this really quick. You had the Young Bucks who just turned babyface to me personally by cutting this segment from the Acclaim. Don't know what that's all about. Maybe having something to stem off the fact that they did it. I forgot who they helped out last week. Did they help somebody out on behalf of AEW to take out the Elite? I can't remember. Nevertheless, though, they just turned babyface to me by fucking cutting their segment. Good shit. And then you had a promo segment from Swerve Strickland, still, again, like I said, engaging with the world champion, you know, kind of a work shoot, if you ask me, from Swerve Strickland, saying, you know, the people in the Anarchy in the arena, the people who main evented the show over the world champion, how about next time you get the world champion on your team and maybe you won't lose? Not talking about the actual team in itself in terms of actually, you know, planning out the match and doing the match and the moves and the fire and the fucking car accidents and the flamethrowers and stupid shit, but booking the world champion in the main event. I know, hell of a concept. Second time I repeated that. But like I said, he's going to main event tonight, so that's a step in the right direction. And kind of going back a little tiny bit, we did have a segment with Samoa Joe and Hook, as I touched on before I paused this, where they were confronted by Tony Nese, who for some reason still has a contract with AEW. Should have been one of the first round rejects, fucking ejected out of the company when he made a mistake and he hired all these other talents, and then he realized his mistake conveniently when CM Punk brought it up. Am I right? Apparently they have conflict. I really don't give a shit about that also. I like the pairing of Samoa Joe and Hook. Tony Nese, not really my cup of tea if you ask me. And actually, let me go back a little bit further too. I forgot to talk about the fact that Jack Perry did cut a bit of a promo after the match with what the fuck are their names again? Jay Briscoe and I forgot who he fought already. Oh yeah, Brian Cage. Let you know how much I love him, right? He just rambled on about nonsense that really was irrelevant and shit. I don't take Jack Perry seriously at fucking all. Just like I don't take the Elite seriously. Never. I mean, look, I like what they're doing as far as the direction that they're going into currently at the moment, a little tiny bit. But after that Anarchy in the arena, they're gonna have to build up a lot of trust before I give a fuck about them again. They already fucked up the trust initially, but you know, like I said, shit happens. Don't make more mistakes going forward. All right, let's get to the next segment. All right, so let's work our way backwards while it's on commercial. I just got finished seeing the Acclaim. They were confronting the Elite Boys, the Young Bucks, talking about how they were upset about their segment being cut. Not really much to touch on here. I really didn't give a shit about this at all because, once again, don't turn the Young Bucks face on me by having them cut the Acclaim segment, because that's the best thing in the world, at least for me, doing something on AEW, is not having to witness the Acclaim in any, I don't know, iteration at all. Just fuck the Acclaim. Fuck the Acclaim. Fuck the Acclaim. But Going back also, you had this segment with Daniel Garcia. They're trying to make him a thing, which, look, there's so many things to say about this when it comes to a Daniel Garcia or anybody in this kind of predicament. It's a contradiction of the character, if you even want to say that about Daniel Garcia. I mean, this is me even saying that he has a character. But you can't have him going out there and shaking his hips and dancing and grooming his nuts on men's faces, all suspect and shit. But at the same time, talk about this story of him overcoming adversity to put himself back into a position to be taken seriously. Okay, stop doing the fucking dance and people will probably take you more seriously, bro. But that doesn't even mean anything, because in the end of the day, you're Daniel Garcia. You're a dime in a dozen. You're just like everybody else. You go out there and you wrestle and you kind of promo talk about you're working so damn hard. I work so damn hard. I'm here. Look at me. I'm here. I wrestle. I grapple. I do suplexes. I work so damn hard. We get it, bro. Again, you're a dime in the fucking dozen. How many fucking Daniel Garcias do we have in AEW? How many Daniel Garcias do we have in professional wrestling, period? Huh? You think going out there and pretending that you're going to be a fucking serious wrestler hasn't been done a million times already? Fucking look at the BCC club. They're filled with these fucking jobbers, right? But working our way back a little bit more, let's talk about the BCC for a second. Look, filler is filler. I get it. It's a 2-hour program, right? Sometimes you're just out of creativity. Sometimes you don't really have much you can fucking do. I mean, this is just my thought. How about give them 5 minutes to get in there and do their things with these fucking losers from fucking Mexico and, plug some stuff with MJF and, Roosh, the guys who kicked off the show tonight, maybe plug some segments in there to promote the Swerve Strickland and Roderick Strong main event for the World Heavyweight Championship, rather than giving us a 20-minute fuckfest match. I don't give a shit about any of this stuff. I don't give a shit about why the fuck these guys or how the fuck these guys got over to America. I don't know what the fuck Joe Biden is doing over there on the border. This is why he's not going to be fucking president past November. Maybe if he can fucking build up the wall, these motherfuckers can stop coming over here and taking fucking TV time from our hard-working wrestlers in AEW. Damn, like they give a shit anyways. My point being is, no, I don't give a shit about any of this. Give me segments. Give me promos. Give me stuff that can be promoted throughout the night. Speaking of which, the Young Bucks are talking. They came back for commercial break. Alright, so while we're setting up for this Tony Storm match, I mean, it's not really much to talk about as far as what they did here. You had Christian come out with the rest of his what do you call them? The patriarchy. And they were pretty much just having a bunch of, mixed signals as far as whether or not they were going to get another title shot. And the Young Bucks alluding to the fact that, hey, you scratch our back, we'll scratch your back, and we'll get you another title shot, Christian. I'm going to presume he's going to try to do something to fit his way into the International Championship. Or was it the TNT Championship ladder match? I presume that's the path that they're going to take most likely. I'm not sure. We'll see how that goes in the future. But nevertheless, though, kind of reverting back to what I was saying about all the stuff with the BCC. Look, I don't have a problem necessarily with the BCC when they're involved in a story. But when you put them out there and they're just taking up all this TV time with these fucking loser-ass Mexican guys, and it's just like, I just don't care to want to see any of this shit. You know what I mean? Like, bruh, I don't know any of these names. I don't know any of these talents. If this is your way of promoting the Forbidden Door, there are multiple ways you can do that without having to give this much TV time to these goddamn lame-ass fucking wrestling matches. They're going to go out there, they're going to do shit we've been seeing for the better part of 10 years, all right? I don't know how much fucking good wrestling one man can fucking get without having to tap out. Dude, go back in the archives. Go back in the vault. You can get good wrestling every goddamn right. Or better yet, how about we get better wrestling by having reasonings to want to see the match at the pay-per-views by not consistently having to go out there and put on these 5-star classics on every goddamn episode of damn Dynamite. And it just goes, again, beyond AEW. This is a professional wrestling problem. I don't want to see them go out there and have 20-minute fuckfest matches, okay? I want to see more segments, plug some stuff, okay? Actual television. This is a television show, right? How about doing some television-y? Huh? Give me some television stuff. Fuck. And then you had Chris Jericho. They're still running this whole vignette gimmick thing that they're doing with the learning tree. This time it was him involving himself in the buffet, and some guy was scooping food onto his plate, and Jericho was showing him the proper way to scoop food into your plate. It is what it is. It's not harming anybody in the end of the day. And right now we have Saraya going up against, it looks like Mariah May. I can't really tell. I mean, I'm going to skip this shit. I really don't care. I really don't. Like always, the women don't really interest me at fucking all. So we'll get to the next segment after that if you don't mind. So that was pretty interesting. While we're getting ready to set up for the main event for tonight, we did have a promo from Bryan Danielson. I guess I should take a couple seconds to touch on the women's stuff. I didn't really give a shit about the match. I don't give a fuck about Paige. I don't give a fuck about Mariah May. I don't find either one of them particularly attractive per se. Not my type of women. Not to say that I wouldn't fuck them if the opportunity arises, but I mean, they're not ones that I would actually, goon over, right? But nevertheless, though, they went out there, they had their match. Paige ended up winning the match. Toni Storm got in the ring to, I don't know, fucking protect Mariah May. I'm not really sure what they were alluding to. I mean, it's fucking Toni Storm. Everything is completely over exaggerated, and her Paige, that is, and the girl, what's her name, Harley Quinn, they started to beat up Mariah May and Toni Storm before some Japanese girl came out who I don't know her name, nor do I give a shit about her. And I guess her and Toni Storm are gonna have a match at Forbidden Door, and I guess there's a rift between them. I wouldn't even call it a rift, because they don't like each other, but apparently Mariah May is friends with both of them, and they're doing the whole gimmick of you're my friend, please don't fight because you're my friend. I don't give a shit. I mean, I did like the chest bumping spot. That was kind of hot, but I mean, I find Toni Storm to be sexy, but I don't really care for the Japanese girl. Nevertheless, though, what was really important is this promo from Bryan Danielson. Now, I'm not sure what he was alluding to outside of the fact that he's not going to retire this year. I think that's what he was saying. I'm not sure, but apparently he's going to include himself in the Owen Hart tournament. And he wants to be the one to get the title shot going into Forbidden Door in the Wembley in the main event, which is fine. I mean, people don't talk about it, and it's more so the fact that Bryan Danielson himself has purposely, honestly, because I don't think he ever really cared for that kind of spot, has ruined his name and his credibility by A, going to AEW, and then B, kind of like more or less kind of dropping himself as far as star power is considered. I mean, people don't like to admit it. People don't want to say it. People don't want to admit it. At one point, Bryan Danielson was one of the biggest wrestlers in the world from a name power standpoint, and he has drastically dropped himself lower and lower and lower and lower, where you put him in a position like this, and I love Bryan Danielson. He's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. It is one of the circumstances and those situations where it's like, well, you're going to have to go in there. Because it's not as if Bryan Danielson doesn't have the capabilities to put himself into a position where he can't put... Because he has that old school Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Jericho type of feel to him, where it's like, he can definitely fight in the mid-card, and when you want to insert him into a main event program or something, you could do that. Again, that Benoit Eddie type of aesthetic where you can insert him into any spot on the card. It's just one of those things where it's like, man, you have ruined your credibility so much throughout the past couple of years with the losing consistently. And again, diehard Bryan Danielson fan, but there does come a point in time where, and again, I'm not a win-loss kind of guy, but to a degree, there's only so much you can do when you consistently lose, you know what I mean? And that's what Bryan Danielson has been doing. So for me to take him serious, and I can definitely get behind Bryan Danielson being the main event of Wembley. I mean, to be quite frank, he is still a big name, just not as big of a name as he used to be. I would just have to see how compelling the feud is going to be if he does win the Owen Hart tournament, if he does go into Wembley and he does go out to face one of the wrestlers for the World Championship. I don't know how it's going to play out. I'll keep my eyes tuned out for it. It is interesting. I think personally he's not going to win the Owen, and I think when he goes into Wembley, that might be his retirement match, or at least his retirement from full-time wrestling. We'll see when we get there, but I did think that the promo was at the very least interesting because I'm curious as to where they're going to go with this. But nevertheless, though, let's get to the main event. Roderick Strong, Swerve Strickland, they were subpar as far as the build goes tonight. This is a random title shot from Roderick Strong. It is what it is. The world title for me means absolutely jack shit anyways, but hey, it's finally main eventing. That's something to at least put a line on the chalkboard. There's a point, there's a score, right? They scored on the board. You got Swerve Strickland in the main event with the World Championship. So, hey, we're here now, and they just rung the bell, so let's get to it, I guess. I felt like I wanted to make a separate video after seeing this match, and I feel like I can cut this promo in about 10 minutes. I sound kind of marky saying that, but I want to be a little bit more serious. I want to try to put aside the jokes for a minute, and I really want to talk to you guys about professional wrestling overall, as far as how I engage with it, how I feel the lack of storytelling within professional wrestling happening throughout the program, whether it's WWE, whether it's AEW, is a serious problem. Now, I will say tonight's show was a healthy, how do I put this? Do I want to say healthy? No, because I feel like when you try to throw out these bones, and I feel like professional wrestling fans, when it comes to the tribalistic perspective that they have on professional wrestling, I think we can all agree that professional wrestling today, it lacks a lot. It lacks a lot. Tonight's show was not healthy. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to pretend that it was healthy. I will say that I was very open-minded. I will say that I judged everything based off of its merits. And I will say that it stepped more in the right direction than it did in the wrong direction, but we're taking baby steps at the moment. You had this match with Swerve Strickland taking on Roderick Strong, and it was just a match. There was no angle, there was no story, nothing tied to it. And I know people are going to probably be like, Devontae, well, Will Ospreay wasn't there this week. That doesn't cut the mustard. That's not an appropriate excuse. I think what people need to understand when watching professional wrestling is that we're watching a television show. Now, I do kind of want to bring your attention to something real quick. While I was watching this match, I was doing two things at once, right? So I was answering this question from this gentleman. His name, I'm not going to say his name actually, because I'm not sure if he wants me to say his name. He can say it himself if he wants to in the comment section. But he was asking me a question on one of my older videos. He asked Devontae, serious question. Cody is being portrayed as the ultimate babyface hero. You said his character and persona is boring. How would you tweak it or make it more interesting while keeping the character the same during his babyface run? And rather than read you the comment that I retorted back with, that's for him to read himself. If he wants to repeat it in the comment section, that's on him. I don't really care. But speaking to you guys and taking what I said in those words and kind of bringing it up to the forefront, I want to use this match as an example. They went out there and they had a good match. Now, it's the World Championship in the main event, with the World Champion happened to be in the main event, and all they did was provide a good match. You know, when I grew up in the Attitude Era, more in particular in the year 2000, the thing that kept me wanting to come back for more was the angles. I think people have gotten out of their mind that angles are not important, that the aspect of professional wrestling, as far as today's generation is considering, is about the tribalistic aspect of playing for a team when it comes to your favorite brand, or more importantly, the actual wrestlers and themselves that they follow, that I feel that they have this kind of deity aspect as far as looking at them, or better yet, they look at just the wrestling from a fundamental standpoint. If this was a political game, I would consider you an independent, for an example, right? You're not playing for the tribalistic aspect, you're not playing for the perspective of your favorite wrestler and you happen to like them a lot. The independent thinker, if you will, comes from the aspect of the actual wrestling taking place in the ring. And I'm here to tell you that all three parties, if this was a political aspect, it's all wrong. It's the angles. It's the story. I think people have gotten away from the fact that professional wrestling, when it's all said and done, is a TV show. And for any TV show you come into and that you want to watch, you engage with the characters. You have a reasoning to want to watch the characters. I will put it to you this way. If professional wrestling, you know what, not even professional wrestling, if social media, if the internet wasn't a thing, I don't think any of you will be watching professional wrestling today. With how it's actually performing currently at the moment, versus you having a social media account and being able to interact with all these exclusive clubs or exclusive wrestling fans that like a certain type of wrestler, I don't think you will like professional wrestling nowadays. I think the hive mind aspect of professional wrestling, having to relate to the next kin who happens to be a professional wrestling fan, has infiltrated your mind and has made it toxic. I come to professional wrestling to watch the angles play out. Just to get back to what I was saying, when I was watching during the Attitude Era, right? And I'll give you a perfect example as to an angle. I love going to this angle right here because I feel like this is the angle that legitimately got me hooked to professional wrestling from a religious standpoint, right? Yes, I look at professional wrestling no different than I look at a religion. Obviously, it's not on the same level, but I said in terms of engaging, right? Not to take anything out of context. You look at something like Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H, right? Going throughout 1999, 2000, 2001. We're going to go directly into 2000. We're going to go after the Rikishi stuff when Austin beat the crap out of him at No Mercy in 2000, right? And we go directly into Triple H exposing himself as being the guy who was the mastermind behind the, Rikishi run over Stone Cold Steve Austin. After that episode of Raw, going into SmackDown, my whole thing was, what's going to be Austin's retribution? How is Austin going to get his revenge against Triple H? You know what we got? We got Triple H sitting down in a chair and he's going through the events as to how he got into Austin's skin, how he got to pretty much screw over Austin, right? How he got to befriend Austin and all the little things, all the little Easter eggs they left around to make you believe that Triple H had nothing to do with the incident when in reality he was behind it the entire time. That was how I got engaged with that angle. And then you had Austin scouting out Triple H, trying to get his revenge on Triple H. And he got his revenge on Triple H eventually at Survivor Series when he flipped him over in the car on the crane. And then eventually Stone Cold Steve Austin got a title shot against Kurt Angle when he was world champion. And Triple H screwed over Stone Cold Steve Austin. So now I want to see, what is Austin going to do to the returning Triple H? And it started to go back and forth throughout the Royal Rumble, right? You had Austin screwing over Triple H in his title match against Angle. You had Triple H trying to screw over Austin in his Royal Rumble win, right? And then eventually we build up into No Way Out 2001. This is a 2-year angle that's been building up to this climax right here. Week after week is the cliffhanger that got me to want to watch the program each and every week. Whether it was Triple H screwing over Austin by beating the crap out of JR when they had that no clause action as far as them not being able to touch each other. Triple H hitting Austin over the head with the clipboard and beating the crap out of him before he can actually sign the contract in itself. Austin wanting to get retribution by stunning Stephanie McMahon, then eventually Triple H going after Jim Ross. The tension built up to the point where you got a 3 stages of hell match. But notice what I'm touching on. Every week there was a cliffhanger. Every week there was a reasoning to want to see Triple H get his comeuppance, to see whether or not how is Triple H going to get his revenge, how is Austin going to get his revenge. That was the cliffhanger every single week. It wasn't just focusing on the wrestling. The wrestling is nothing more than a tool to advance the angle in itself. And I feel people don't think about this. I feel people look at Cody Rhodes and I feel like you're within your group thought, your group think, your bubble. And because everybody in your vicinity, in your surroundings, whether it has to be the tribalistic banner that accompanies that wrestler, whether it happens to be the wrestler in itself, that I don't know, maybe they did something. Maybe there was an angle that they did run a couple of years ago that you got yourself attached to. Maybe it could be a CM Punk situation where in 2011 you were a big fan of his when you were a kid and that just held on to you, right? You hold on to that like a nostalgia type of perspective. And then you go into 2024 and you think of him as a legend so he can do no wrong. I feel the same way about Chris Jericho before he came to AEW. I know how you feel, but I can put aside my favoritism. I could put aside the memories and I could judge things based off of his merit, based off of the individual activity that they're currently doing at the moment, right? And I look at the angles that a guy like a Cody Rhodes are performing in right now, right? And I don't see anything. I seen what he did with AJ Styles, and I gotta say, it's a step in the right direction in terms of actually telling me that they're gonna have a legitimate feud. But at the same time, the angle that they ran that night last SmackDown was lame, right? You look at Trick Williams, currently right now in NXT. I see the direction that they're going into, but I don't feel it. I don't have a cliffhanger that could sink my teeth into to get me to want to watch NXT. I'm going to, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm excited. I look at Swerve Strickland tonight, the same thing. Don't even get me started on Damian Priest. And that's what I mean. There's only so much you can do when relying on a superstar's fundamental tools when it comes to the promos, when it comes to the wrestling. There's only so many things you can do. I use this as a metaphor all the time. But just for people who are new, you go and you play wrestling games, right? And you go into a wrestling game mode and you want to play universe mode in particular. Do you play universe mode in order to get the same effect as how you play exhibition mode? Do you go on a universe mode and you just play the matches? Because you can do that on exhibition if you want to. If you just want to go out there and just have fun, you can do that on exhibition. You chose to go on universe mode for a reason, right? You chose to go on my career mode for a reason, right? When you play the old wrestling games, for some of the old heads out there, when you play season mode, you played for a reason. You play any video game, you want to play the campaign mode, right? You don't go out there and you just want to play for the sake of playing if you're specifically picking that mode. Otherwise, then why did you pick the mode to begin with, right? Right? That's how I look at professional wrestling. I don't mind the promos. I don't mind the wrestling. But the broader point is that the wrestling and the promos are nothing more than tools to advance the story. And in the case of the wrestling, it's not just advancing the story, it's climaxing the story. It's the conclusion to the story. It's bringing the story to a point as to why I want to watch them wrestle to begin with. And I feel we have gotten far and far and far away from that right there. That's why wrestling today is in the state that it's currently in right now. It's in the state that it's currently in right now because no one is focusing on the angles. No one is focusing on the legitimate stories. It's just favoritism based off of the wrestler in themselves. It's just favoritism based off of the banner that presides over the wrestler in itself. And that's just unhealthy as shit. It's that kind of perspective, it's that kind of mentality that's going to ruin professional wrestling, if not already ruin it as is. People say all the time, oh, who cares about the casual fan? No one wants to see the casual fan. I only care about what I want to see. And that's fine. But that's what you want to see. And I can understand subjectivity happens to be a thing. But objectively, I can look at the numerical perspective and I can tell you that it's drastically dropping. And I like to use that as empirical evidence to coincide with my opinion as to why professional wrestling happens to be in the shape that it's in. So now we come to my opinion versus your opinion. But my opinion, I'm gonna back up with evidence. I'm going to back up with evidence, right? And I'm going to be the person to say that I rely on the majority who have dropped from 10 million fans in 2000 to 2 million fans at its peak on SmackDown, for an example. And don't forget me started on AEW. This match is a perfect example. AEW tonight, Swerve Strickland and Roderick Strong. Going out there, you barely have any build for it. I got to give you props for having 2 segments built to the main event. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? 2 segments is all it takes for me to want to fucking give you kudos? That's how far we have dropped as wrestling fans. That's how far our standards have dropped as wrestling fans. I just wanted to rant on that a little tiny bit. Just to give you my mindset as far as how I look at AEW, how I look at professional wrestling nowadays. I don't have any cliffhangers. I don't have any excitement. I don't have any reasoning to want to tune into the show next week. You may say to yourself that you're happy with the mediocre things that you get nowadays, but let me tell you, at one point, wrestling was so much better. And I feel like if you were able to experience wrestling when it was at its best, you wouldn't be accepting it right now when it's at its worst. Food for thought. Let me get the hell up out of here. As always, my name is Devontae. I'll be catching you guys later. Deuces, P. Ice.